and both cameras are rolling great. Hey everyone, Roman here, and Codex has quickly turned from a coding agent into a true teammate. But not just a coding partner anymore. Profs are like there. You can literally use Codex for any tasks, and compute usage is a big part of that shift. Codium me your tools and files and into the actual work you do with your local apps. Today, Ari joins me to think deeply about this problem. So, Harry, what's the reason for using a computer? Can you explain more about how this works? Yeah, I'm really pumped about computer use. Code can already do so many things on your computer since they could run commands. It could write code, so we can solve all sorts of problems for you. What's new is that all the software on your computer now has a graphical user interface. It's sort of something you use as a human by looking at it, moving your mouse, clicking, or typing. And now codes can handle all of that for you as well. So it can literally use any app on your computer, which is so strong it's really cool to get to kind of watch this all come together. And build something that people can use for so many different things. One of the things I found very getting started with Codex is what makes the onboarding delightful for people watching this and want to try these awesome features right from the start. The first onboarding screen is super simple. So do you want to show? So yeah, let's imagine this is the first time I'm using a computer and it asks me for my permission first, right? And so when it does that, I'll get this window that says enable codes computer use. And when I hit allow, the panel animates straight into the settings window, which just lets you know where to look. And what you're supposed to do tells you how to drag it. And it shows you how to drag a list, and then you have to authorize since you're messing with your system settings. And now I managed to get the whole thing set up in two pulls over, and now you can see it's running, clicking, and doing the task for me. And it's in talk mode now, and it's all done amazing. Yeah, cool. So let's check out computer use in action. Do you have a task at the top of your head that you want to show us? Yeah, absolutely so. Something I do now and then is I need to test software in older Mac operating systems. So to do that, I use virtual machines, and there's an app I love called UT, but it's a hassle to make a virtual machine since I have to click through a ton of steps and run stuff. The macOS Setup Assistant is basically the perfect use case, and so is like a perfect use case. So now I can save tons of time by letting the agent do it for me. So I'm going to head into Codex and tell it to create a fresh Mac VM in UTM. And so when I type it, displays a list of the apps on my computer. I can run the query and then it'll actually start using the app I selected. So in this case, it's going to spin up UTML. And what we see here is once the app starts, and once it starts using the app, you'll see the cursor zoom in. That's awesome. It's super cool. The thing that's awesome is that it's unlike my cursor, so Codex can click around without messing with what I'm doing on my computer. So you can keep using your computer while Codex runs in the background. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, there are tons of computer use implementations, and honestly, every single one I've seen takes over your entire computer. So you can't use your computer while the agent is using your apps. And now it's already done. Sounds like it's downloading macOS. So, once macOS finishes downloading it, can also finish the next step, which is actually setting up macOS for me. That saves so much time. So should we try doing another of these computer use? Like tasks running in the background? Can you do multiple? Absolutely. So I want to focus, get some good tunes on Spotify for my work. So now the agent is going to start using Spotify. But what's really powerful about this is it can actually handle tasks across multiple apps, running multiple cursors at once, apps simultaneously. So I'm going to add a reminder in the Reminders app for tonight to look through my tax documents because the Spotify is starting to add some reminders for me as music's coming. So now all of a sudden my Mac is this multitasking environment where I can do so many things at once and let agents handle all the stuff I don't want to be spending my time on. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Now there are like 3 apps running in the background that Codex has been driving. And all the stuff you've done with the cursor has been so delightful too. Like, do you want to tell us more about this? Yeah, we wanted to build something that felt fun to use and felt natural. So the cursor movement is something that matters. When you're using your apps, you kind of want to get a handle on what it's doing. And so we put some effort into finding these curves of motion that feel natural and feel a bit whimsical where the arrow turns to point in the direction of motion. So it seems like it's gliding across your screen, which makes it fun to use. Yeah, it's really delightful too to like get a clearer picture of what the agent is doing with each of these apps. Yeah, I love. One thing I want is using a faster model like Spark on the computer. So tell me more about that. Regarding how you're approaching the combination of multimodal and accessibility, we've created some really exciting things using the way it runs with the model, and it's just only the beginning of the kind of work we can do. In the past, using computers only worked with screenshots because it relied on the power of multimodal models. So the model can view the interface and click and type using coordinates, which is awesome. But it turns out you can actually pull out all this hidden info about an app's interface through the TUM accessibility framework. And so we have spent a lot of time figuring out how to use this in a way that boosts what the model can do. We grab a ton of text that describes the interface, and the model can use that to see things even off screen so it understands the role even more deeply. Every element that's on screen. And so this just makes the model super accurate at performing tasks. And then the other advantage of it, which you were pointing out, is that since it doesn't necessarily need images, we can use non-multimodal models like Codex Spark, which are super fast. And so all of a sudden you get this experience where computer use can, when you use one of those models, use software even faster than you can. That's amazing. Do you want to try one of these tasks, for instance, where like we would switch the model to Spark? Yeah, absolutely. Line remain in messages to try computer use for debugging apps. And so here's what we'll find. Before computers were used, they were, pretty performant. But now with the Spark model, it's superhuman. It runs the software literally faster than a human. So look at this. Open the text, type a message to me right now. And in a split second, it sent. That's pretty amazing, pretty awesome. So it just did that in the background. I could do other stuff on my computer at the same time, and it was super. And we got it. It's awesome you asked me to try computer use for debugging apps. You brought something incredible. A lot of what you know about Sky into the Codex app. This is amazing working with the research team now at OpenAI. Where do you see the future of computer use? Yeah, back when we had products like Operator and ChatGPT Agent for those products, we used to train separate models for computer use. And since then, the research team has done this awesome work to actually bring those capabilities into the main GGP models. So now we're actually building this on codes using the exact same models available through the APC, and everybody can make these awesome computer capabilities. So that's been super nice and also great streamlining for our workflow internally. I think that it's amazing how fast we've been able to get this to work with the mainline models and with Spark. But I think we're going to need to reach a point where computer use is superhuman. You know, I imagine we can reach a point where computers can run software 2.5 to 10 times faster than they do now, a person. And I think that's where it's going to become indispensable. You're going to want to use it for so many computing tasks for pretty much everything you do and let you concentrate on what matters most. I'm so pumped about the roadmap there. And I wanted to mention something maybe folks haven't thought about. Getting curious is basically the safety way to handle all this, since you've got these incredible features for codes. So right now you're kind of running some apps on your Mac. How are y'all thinking about safety? Yeah, it's such. That's a good question. I feel like this type of technology has the potential to be kind of scary because it's really taking control. The things you do on your computer, and it can access, there's so much going on. So we feel it's really important that people feel totally at ease using this tech. And so we've been putting a lot of time into figuring out how to do that. And one of the things we've done here, we've made computer use so that it can only access applications you permit each time codes. Try to use you run the app for the first time and it prompts for your permission. Once you say yes, Codex gains access. And type into that app, but it can't see or interact with any other app on your computer. So if you've got some stuff that's, maybe a little sensitive in one of your apps, you can feel very confident knowing that codes can access your developer apps and your productivity applications without accessing, anything that's more sensitive. And so that really builds up trust for the user, I think. Absolutely, yeah, that's super amazing. But it's not like streaming your whole desktop or accessing all your files. It's more like case by case, app by app as you try to be productive. You're giving codes the permission to do. So obviously this is an easy task. But now that we've seen how powerful computer use can be, I'm curious like what have you used computer use in Cod X4? What were kind of your magical moments that I know it well, yeah. I have all these spreadsheets I use for stuff like tracking finances. So now I actually ask Codex to update them for me. And I don't have to do it myself anymore. Super powerful. That's incredible. I mean, it's hard to even imagine these days starting a job without Codex. That's so true. Like these days, whenever I want to begin something new, whether it's coding or even something else on my computer, I feel like I want to turn to codes first because it saves me tons of time. And we had the file system, we had the plugins to access all of these services online. It felt like using a computer was the missing piece to get to those local apps. And I definitely think so. So, especially for me, I use a really wide variety of apps. I use a lot of web apps. I use a ton of Apple's own apps, especially for my spreadsheets and numbers. So now this just brings everything online into a spot where Codex can do end to end is one of those capabilities that are pretty incredible in computer news, and it's really hard to fully appreciate until you give it a try. All of a sudden, your computer functions in a totally new way. And it's not just codes shuffling around your computer, it's codes actually doing real work for you in the background without breaking dase. Try your flow on your toughest task, maybe the one where you're bouncing between 5 apps and eats several hours of your day. We generally can't wait to see what you think computer use is available for a Postgala Mac today, and we're excited to bring it to Windows users very soon. Thanks,